Aquarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my For Aquarius Eyes Only exclusive Aquarius report for March 2026. This is for you if Aquarius is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Aquarius placement you're listening for. What we're going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. If you are in the Aquarius spectrum, where you are February 15th, birthdays or 23-degree placements, and after, then I suggest you additionally listen to my Pisces report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. If you are able to grab a pen and paper, you may want to, so you can jot some important notes down and dates specifically. I'm going to go over some hot spots throughout the month. And if you don't have something to write with, or you just would like to have a written version plus more about this month, then grab your free star report at anniehelpsyou.com and then click on Unleash. Okay, so let's get down to it. This month is a month that is massively strong in the energy of Pisces. We've got the Mars transiting North Node, the Sun, Pallas Athena, Mercury in retrograde, and Venus all in Pisces. And we also have that new moon on March 18th at 28 degrees of Pisces, and all of this crowds the financial sector of life for Aquarius. So very top thing to know is that you will have many opportunities to think, rethink, recalibrate your financial experience, your relationship with stuff, your material experience, anything that you have of financial value or of emotional value to you. You may notice it's going through a cycle of reconsideration now. It may need some attention and some polishing up, and you may have opportunities just straight up to earn money. There will be lots of possibilities for that this month as these Pisces planets move through and make a beautiful aspect with the now waking up Jupiter on March 10th. Jupiter wakes up after a 4-month slumber. But you might start to feel that energy even before. Like as January goes on, February, we start to feel a little bit of this major optimism giant starting to wake up. For the 4 months through Jupiter's retrograde cycle, we often can feel more low or less creative solution oriented or less enthusiastic, less sure of or interested in bigger goals. And so you might notice this month that long-time dreams, things that had gone dormant towards the end of 2025, anything that had been expanding that suddenly cooled off may start to have life breathed into it again. A lot of this could be centered around home and family because Jupiter is in Cancer. Specifically for Aquarius, though, this is your daily experience. This could be a work project or a business project. This could be a health goal or health topics. This could be something that you're working on to spice up your daily experience. If things have gotten a little bit monotonous, Jupiter waking up this month may actually bring more interesting things back to your daily experience, and that's going to be exciting. We've got a tie-in here with the 2nd house of money and the 6th house of the place where you go to earn money, whether that's home or an office or wherever, and there's a lot of energy there. So there is a lot of financial focus for you at this time, but if money isn't on the radar as something interesting or relevant for you, then it may have to do with inner riches or, your health, your wellness. It could have to do with eco projects or environmental projects, farming, or things having to do with like making things with your hands, crafts and things like that. So these Pisces placements are waking up the earthy Taurus house. The 2nd house is ruled by Taurus, even though for Aquarius, Pisces is the ruler there specifically for you. But the language of Pisces is going to be very strong this month. This ethereal, quiet, mystical, magical, artistic, poetic, romantic, very imagination-based, very fantastical. So, there's a lot of chances for meeting of the hearts. And there's a very strong Venusian focus here because as Venus comes and gets into Aries as the month progresses, it's going to make a conjunction with Neptune, with Saturn, then with Chiron. It will also make a beautiful aspect with Pluto. And Venus rules love and beauty and money and finances and design, projects and self-esteem. So you'll see a lot of boosts throughout the month having to do with Venus-related topics. Mercury retrograde energy is factoring in as a layer this entire month. Let's talk about the important dates here. Mercury will be going from 22 degrees of Pisces back to 8 degrees during its retrograde cycle. February 12th started the pre-shadow period. From the time the pre-shadow period begins until the official retrograde date, which is February 26th, there's this building up of movement inward and backward. Appliances start to act up. Communication starts to go haywire. Voice to text makes worse errors that you may not catch. And things that had been swept under the rug basically come back up, flying in the air as the rug is picked up and shaken out. So, it is a very difficult time to try to push too far into the distance, even though you'll have Jupiter waking up and you're starting to think about these things. You may have to wait until this Mercury cycle completes to be able to really be clear about what you're doing and where you're going for the bigger picture. And you'll notice this because not only do we have an eclipse that is going to be delivering news, March 3rd, we've got that 12-degree Virgo full moon lunar eclipse. We'll talk about that more here soon. But there's basically information coming in this month, and you're not going to have all the information at once. And if you make an important decision based on the information that you think is the finite amount of information, then you're going to get new information pretty soon that will change what you would do. So waiting this out. So the official retrograde, February 26th, until March 20th, Mercury goes officially direct, and it will take from March 20th until April 10th before Mercury to be completely clear. So this is kind of the time period. As the month goes on, towards the end of the month, you're more in a position to start trying to make these decisions, but it will take until April 10th before the energy is really forward moving again. So if you follow my tidal analogies, the whole month of March, pretty much, you're on the shore, just basically seeing what the tides bring into you. And anything that you try to push out on the tides will still come back to you very quickly because they don't have the strength and momentum to go out yet. But as of April 10th, you'll have this rushing out. And you will be feeling the tides in process of changing as we hit March 10th and then Jupiter goes direct. Then, as we hit March 20th and Mercury goes direct, they're like cogs in a wheel of forward movement. But, it is still better to be responsive rather than proactive at this time. As the month, turns into an Aries festival, which is March 20th and afterwards, and actually it will even start a little bit sooner than that as Venus gets there, but, you're going to want to do things. So you're just going to have to kind of follow the flow. And if you're trying to do things and they're not working out, you may need a little bit more time and a little bit more information before you can, get things going again. Now, specifically for Aquarius, this retrograde cycle is featuring, again, this story with your finances or your material experience. Material can be your experience with the earth and, environmentally aware things, or it can be just actually money and finances. So there's a range of potential ways that you can interact with this, but the retrograde is going to make you reconsider something or go back to something or, make you reevaluate viewpoints or ideas or other steps you may have taken in the past. All right, let's talk about this eclipse. Now, just to do the quick overview of the eclipse story, the eclipse stories are varied at this time because we do have a new eclipse cycle, a Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle with that February eclipse. I do talk about that more in the January and February reports, so I'm not going to talk about it here, except to say that there is another layer of eclipse story that's happening besides what I'm going to talk about here, because the eclipse season includes all of these variables. But what we have happening now on March 3rd is the 12-degree Virgo full moon lunar eclipse. And this is part of this eclipse cycle that we have that's going from the end of 2024 into the first part of 2027. Every 6 months during that time, we're having this coming up, bubbling up from the unconscious to the conscious space, something that's in process here. And this is going to, again, have to do with your world of your resources. Resources are very likely to be financial for many Aquarius placements. They might not only be financial, though. They could be emotional. Think things you have to dig into the ground for, because this 8th house that is accentuated by the eclipse, that's where the eclipse is going to be experienced for Aquarius, is the inner riches. It could be things that you mine for, like precious metals. That area rules those types of things. Commodities, crypto, stock, anything that is considered an asset that's more, harder to understand what the heck exactly it is. Or it can be emotional resources, your inner power. An empowerment process is at play here for Aquarius. But a lot of this may have to do with financial. This is going to be your finances versus your family or your spousal finances, your financial picture versus you together in relationship with someone else. So basically, your stuff versus other people's stuff and our stuff. My stuff, your stuff, and our stuff is going to be the big story that's popping up every 6 months during this cycle from 2024 to 2027. Now, you can think back to 2015 to 2017. That's when this eclipse cycle happened before. And you can think back to 2006 to 2008. That's when it happened prior. And think about the kinds of things with your stuff, our stuff, my stuff, inheritances, lotto, lawsuits, business merging, big purchases, big sales, investments, debt, taxes, loans. All of those things are in the realm of what this eclipse is bringing up. So you can think back to those time periods and see if you can see the echoes from the past of how this manifested before. Very important thing to know is that if something bad happened then, doesn't mean it will happen again now. All right. I always get a lot of people concerned about that. The stars were different then than they are now. This is just one storyline of themes, but it is possible that the topics involving, legacy, inheritances, things like that may come up, which may or may not have to do with somebody passing away. And it could also have to do with births. The same energy that rules death, literally and figuratively in the chart, also rules birth. All right, so a child could be born, and that could make things change with, inheritance for the family or the family finances or something like that. So this is, a very big time for that type of focus. Now, eclipse season really starts 4 to 6, sometimes 8 weeks before the actual eclipse. So January, February, March, April, kind of even lingering into May. This is the hot spot, but February and March are the kind of most intense times where the biggest pieces of information are likely and events will likely occur. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is the latter part of the month. As the Pisces planets move into Aries, and as Venus comes and makes these conjunctions with Neptune and Saturn and Chiron, and all of this crowding happens in the Aquarius 3rd house of Gemini, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for communication, for devices, for vehicles. If you have to make a big purchase of a car or a computer or a device, once you're getting more clear of the Mercury retrograde spectrum, that, may become easier. You may start looking then and then try to move your purchase a little bit more away from the chaos, more towards the very end of the month into the beginning of April. But there will be a lot of activity where you're asking the questions, is it time to upgrade your communication? Is it time to upgrade your vehicle or your bike or your, something having to do with mobility? And this is also going to bring a strong focus for Aquarius on your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, different relatives that you might not think of just as your kids or your parents, your main family unit. A lot of these other relatives may come in and have important things that go on. In general, the Aries time towards the end of the month is a time that's easier for Aquarius to understand vibrationally. The Pisces time, is water, which doesn't flow as well for Aquarius. Of course, we're complex individuals and we have every element within us and we have parts that can connect with all placements. But in general, just from the Aquarius perspective, the language of emotion is going to be very dominant this month, but the language of action, and interacting and social understandings and, friendships and interacting with other people away from just feeling, kind of doing, is going to more speak the Aquarian language as the month goes on. If you resonate with my work, please subscribe, click like, and if you want the written star report that I talked about, the March report, then you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and put your name and email address in there. Just click on Unleash and put your info there. And in the welcome letter, it will give you instructions on how to get that monthly sweet and salty date report. If you want to see personalized reports for the outer planets, the ones that move slowly but bring major themes for your chart, go to Annie B Clarity, Annie the letter B Clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology with me, if you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, either to help you and your family and your friends or to do it professionally, I have an astrology certification course that you can check out at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.